What is going on, everybody? Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to go over 3 things that make a good practice session. This video is intended for coaches, but everybody else can watch, learn, and enjoy. First thing to make our practices good or better revolves around having a topic. Every practice has to have a purpose. There has to be a point for why we're training, not just because it's practice day, but what are we going to get out of it? Our topic has to be clear, it has to be specific, and we have to have a reason for why we're having that topic. A reason can be something as simple as I'm introducing this to my team because we haven't gone over it yet and they're ready for it, or it might be something along the lines of in our last game we failed to execute this topic properly and it's been an issue for the past few weeks or months. Might be worth working on that at practice. So have a reason for your topic. As you think about your topic and you develop a good session and you have it go on, sometimes players are going to pick up on what you want them to improve on, and other times they won't. Understand that if players don't give you the result that you want from practice, it doesn't automatically make the session unsuccessful. Are there things that we could have done better as coaches? Perhaps, and it's worth a look. But understand that in the bigger picture, soccer is a player-centered sport, not a coach-centered one. Players need to have that ability to identify and solve problems and execute things on the go. Because we're standing on the sidelines, we can't call plays, we don't have timeouts to work with. Players have to make decisions and execute on the go. So if the topic is good and the session looks good, but they haven't learned, give it some time. Revisit the topic. Think about other ways to present it to them, but don't beat yourself up about it being awful because you didn't get the results that you wanted. Here's some examples on topics that you can work on in your team's practices. I divided them into 2. Technical, when we're working with individuals and small groups. You could have the full team there, but maybe you're working on the player's ability to dribble, so your topic is more technical. Maybe you're working on something like defending balls out of the air, where you combine different things, but it's still a technical topic. So these are examples of what you can do technically to come up with sessions. And then these are examples of more tactical topics relating to problems on the field that you identify that the other team is presenting to you, or problems that you're having as you attack or defend against the other team. Tactical topics go by moments or by areas of the field. Here are 2 examples of tactical topics that you might want to work on. Notice that you identify whether it's an offensive or defensive topic, identify where on the field you're seeing this problem, identify who in the team is involved, identify the when, what problems, or when do we want to use this topic, when the opponents are presenting certain problems, and then have a why. Why is this the solution that we're looking for? So more on that as you progress as coaches and pick up more experience and understanding of the game, but there's technical, tactical topics and a variety of other topics you can explore. The next point to make our practices better is activities. First thing that came to my mind is that simple activities are generally better than complex ones. It's not about how many cones, how many hurdles, how fancy our session looks on the outside. If we spend more time with players confused trying to figure out why we're doing what it is that we're doing. Simple activities with a good topic and good coaching points in mind, with a good plan, generally are more beneficial than complex ones. It doesn't mean that complex activities aren't useful or necessary, or even the ones we have to do at the time. But when in doubt, start out thinking simple, and then when you have a simple session, simple activity, if you want to go and make it more complex to pinpoint more things, feel free to do so. Make sure that your activities bring out the topic. Do we have opportunities to execute, to apply the technique? Do we see the problem, and is there a chance to solve it? If we are working on a dribbling session, will we have opportunities to dribble a lot in certain activities? Will we have a game later on where we set an environment where players can dribble? Make sure that the activities bring out what you want to work on. If you're working on having a session where it goes by the method, maybe we're doing the 4-step method that US Youth Soccer used to do years ago, where you have a warm up and a small-sided activity and a bigger expanded one in a game. Can I have activities that connect? Does my expanded activity feed off of my small-sided activity? If I'm doing the Wally session, that's a little more recent with US Soccer, is my learning phase activity connected to my orientation phase activity? If I have two different activities of any other sort of format, are there themes that connect them? Can I make both of them bring out the topic? And that's the third point there. Let's show the topic in different situations with our activities. Here are examples of the types of activities that we can use. If you'd like to screenshot this or save this slide and then use this as a base from which to build on, feel free to do so from there. I can go on and on about these. I'll choose not to. I can take questions in the comments or messages directly to me as I go, but those are just some ideas. It doesn't mean these are the only ones. You can start with these and then go and do more. For example, in these games with conditions, these are potential conditions that can work in certain situations with certain topics. It doesn't mean that they have to be the conditions you use. You can be creative and add some more. You can ask colleagues and directors and mentors on what they've done, but just a layout for you to work with. If you use these types of activities, you'll generally have a good, safe layout for a good session. And hopefully there's a good topic that relates to that and connects it all together. The third thing that came to mind to make our practices good or better has to do with our coaching points. Are our coaching points related to the topic? If my topic is defending, am I spending a lot of time correcting all the mistakes with passing improperly, with dribbling and making mistakes with how we dribble, with missing shots? I'm wasting time if I'm spending so much time with coaching points that have nothing to do with my topic. It doesn't mean that your coaching point should only be on defending if flat out you see a big need for work in other areas of the game. But let's make it to where we respect the topic that we're working on. I'm sure that all of us can find a list of reasons, some teams longer or shorter than others, but we can all find things that our team can do better. And sometimes we might make the mistake of, let's just have a practice where we try to correct everything. But it's important to understand that we're teaching the game, we're teaching players, and there's got to be some sort of order to this madness. So if I'm working on defending, most of my topics are going to be on defending. I'm going to keep mental notes of other mistakes and themes that I see with other topics, and I'm going to find a time and a place to talk about those. Or I might have an assistant pull some players over and go over those with coaching points with them individually. But stick to your topic. Make sure your coaching points are correct. This makes sense, but we have different varying degrees of knowledge of the game. Make sure that what you're teaching is good. Not to say that it's necessarily absolute, because soccer has a lot of ways to do things right, but make sure that you're giving correct information. If you need help with that, go to other coaches, go to mentors, ask me questions. I don't know everything, far from it, but maybe me or maybe I or another coach can give you a different way of looking at things. Look up YouTube videos on increasing our knowledge of the game, but make sure that you're giving correct instruction. When in doubt, feel free to seek out more information. The next point is absolutism versus relativism. Understand that your way of doing something does not mean that that's the absolute only correct way of doing it. For example, let's talk about receiving the ball. A common way that we teach players to receive correctly is to use the inside of our foot with our toe up and our heel down, our plant foot next to the ball, Maybe we open up our hips to turn. Maybe we take a directional touch to the right side with the right foot, or maybe we cross to the left side with the right foot, whatever it is. What you're teaching is correct under certain circumstances, and it might be something that's generally more correct than others. But does that mean that with receiving, there aren't any times in which I'm going to receive with the outside of the foot, or times in which I'm going to receive with the sole of my foot? Absolutely. There's different ways to receive. So make sure players understand that just because they're learning how to dribble with their laces and pinky toe doesn't mean that there's times in which it doesn't mean that there won't be times in which they need to move using the inside of the foot. Maybe we're dribbling sideways and have to go with the inside of the foot. Maybe we have to spin away from pressure where we use the inside of the foot. As you increase the knowledge of your game, you'll see more things that we need to teach. But understand, you might have found something that works for you, and that's great. I'm not telling you not to teach that. But keep in mind, what we do isn't always the absolute truth and best. Next point, playtime versus listening. So here's the thing with coaching points. Kids come to soccer practice to play soccer. They don't come to listen to our sermons, to listen to our spiels. They want to play. At the same time, we can't just let them play and not instruct them. Otherwise, it's not soccer practice or soccer training. It's just free play. Why are families paying money to clubs and to competitive teams if we're just going to let them do what they were already doing at rec or what they could do at home? When players flat out don't understand the topic or what's going on, they're completely lost. It's totally fine to maybe teach more and talk more. There might be times in which that's wrong. Maybe we're overcomplicating things and we have to talk less. Maybe we have to demonstrate more, or show, or have players demonstrate more. But it's not to say that we can't come in and give instruction. So instruction is good. There's a time and a place for it. There's times in which more instruction is better than others, but there's also time in which we have to step back a little bit and let kids do their thing. To summarize here at the bottom, free play, just playing without instruction, is better than minimal play with tons of coaching points for the kids who are just essentially in class and not playing. Free play is better than that. However, it's not ideal. It's far from it. A combination of playing and having adequate coaching points in a variety of methods, correct instruction, something that allows players to do more, that is better than free play. That's where we want to be with our coaching points. The last thing is the idea of principles versus pinpoint telling. When we make coaching points and corrections, let's make sure that we pinpoint and are direct in the right moments, but that we don't give information that's good in one setting, but then bad in another setting and confuse the player. For example, if one of our center backs gets the ball and loses the ball under pressure and we get scored on, we might be inclined to correct that player and tell him to play two-touch. Center back should play two-touch. Certain center backs shouldn't dribble. Well, then there's another situation afterwards where that center back gets the ball with a lot more space to go forward and push the team up and then play a ball in behind or a ball in the mids. Well, the center back is by the box, doesn't take the 30, 40 yards of space, plays a two-touch pass. Everybody's too far away. The center back's a U12, so the player can't kick as hard and as far as maybe an older player can. Well, the player loses the ball, gets scored on again, and now we're saying, oh, you've got to dribble more. Make sure that if you can teach principles, teach principles. The principle in that example with the center back was not play two touches or dribble and go. The principle dealt more with the idea of space and solving problems. If the player has a lot of space to push up and make a decision, that's when we dribble forward. If we don't have much space, we might pass the ball to somebody. If we don't have much space, but no one's open, we're still partly responsible to keep the ball. So we'll have to make a decision on how to get out of pressure. We might have to dribble out of pressure. We might have to clear it. But let's try to teach principles. This is not to say that in a big game or if we're seeing a repetitive pattern of the same issue, we can't come in and pinpoint something. Absolutely not. But keep in mind, are we teaching principles when necessary? Are we pinpointing when necessary? Are we pinpointing when we're not supposed to? Be really, really careful with that, and you'll be better with experience. That's the end of the video. 3 things that'll make your soccer practices good or better. Hope you all enjoyed the video and got something out of it. Feel free to hit a like and enter comments and be in touch. And I will talk to you all in the next video. Take care.